So Vinit, just wanted to welcome you to the get together, and wanted to ask you a few questions.
Well, first of all, Vinay, thank you very much. I've been sort of a recluse and I've not met you guys and not come to any of the meets. I think I've met some people when I think some of you have been in the US, in short groups, but I've been the true MIA over here, for many years. So, apologies for that. I'm not, a big social person. But when Vinay called me, I'm appreciative and really kind of, moved that so many people have shown up, and I really appreciate it. And it's so good to see you guys.
Uh-oh. Hey,
Yeah.
Vinit, you got muted. Could you unmute yourself?
Yeah, I just did.
Yeah,
So I
all
don't
right.
know if you heard me or anything.
No, we heard you. We just got you just got muted at the end. So
Okay.
yeah. So okay, let me say that most of you would have read, and if you've not, Vinith has been instrumental in developing or manufacturing certain equipment which has been used by various vaccine manufacturers for COVID around the world. And he has just shipped, in the Indian papers, you would be reading the Indian government, this ramp up, etc. So Serum Institute, which is the largest producer, currently produces 4 crore doses a month. And with this equipment and the other equipment which they are getting, they're going to ramp up the capacity from 4 crores to 20 crores. And this is one of the centerpiece equipments. So they'll be able to do 20 crore doses a month, 5 times of what they are doing. And it's all coming from our very own Vinit's company. So Vinit, I just wanted to ask you, can you just tell us in broad terms what this equipment which you are shipped to SII, what does it really do?
So I'll just give you a brief background. We play in the biopharmaceutical industry, and in very simplistic terms, the vaccine that's being produced is very much like other biologics, where cells are grown in large cell culture vessels or fermenters. And in this particular case, there are certainly genetically engineered gene therapy vectors that grow inside these cells. And then the plasmids from the cells are harvested. And there's a lot of other garbage along. And so these are fluid reactors, not like huge fermenters like in the beer industry, but sort of small, a few 100 liters, 1,000 liters like that. And so after that is a very critical part of the process, which is actually purifying the bioactive molecule, which could be a vaccine, could be an antibody, whatever it is, by a certain adsorption, desorption processes called chromatography. And so that's where we come in. We've developed equipment and technology that enables these separations to be done on a small scale all the way to very large scales. And in this particular case, we are providing the equipment that enables this to be done at scales that are currently not being done in the industry. And that enables them to make, very high quantities of doses. So, and after our equipment, which is the major bottleneck in the industry and a big expensive piece because it's fairly labor intensive, they concentrate the biological material through a sort of membrane, similar to reverse osmosis type equipment, and then it goes into fill finish, right? So into formulation, so they add additives to it, and then it goes into bottling. So that's kind of the process map. And so we we fit in a critical portion of that. So they already, Serum and many companies already have the what we call the upstream piece, which is the ability to grow the cells in large volumes. And what they are missing is what in our industry jargon we call the downstream processing, which is the separation and purification process. I'm an old chemie, so I'm still there with my roots doing separations and chemical engineering and all that. So that's our that's our wheelhouse, and so we are providing these tools and equipment to, and in particular, as you scale up, there are unique issues that pop up, and we had to address those issues in developing this equipment for Serum. I don't know if that answers your question or there.
No, it wonderfully answers the question. In fact, it tells us about the equipment, what it does, and the criticality in the process. As we can see, it's one of the very critical, as you said, bottleneck equipment. Now,
Right,
is it
exactly.
which you normally make, or it has been developed specifically for the COVID vaccine manufacturers?
So we make equipment like this. The pharma industry, unlike like refineries or something like that, where everything is continuous, you have crude oil coming in and it gets fractionated in big distillation columns into, petrol or gasoline, as you guys call it, other fractions, right? Aviation fuel and all that. In the pharma industry, everything, or biotech, which is a derivative of that, is very batch oriented, right? So as a result, and it's for a reason, because each batch has to be QC'd to very, very high levels. They have to ensure the product specificity and, and the purity, so that there are no side reactions or anything like that. So the mentality has been batch. It's now shifting towards continuous, but we have to have a lot more online sensors and controls and all that as a result of that. And so everything in this industry is very controlled, and and they have a kitchen, and there are solutions that have to be made. So there are kitchens, essentially big, huge kitchens, where you're making these things called buffers and big tanks. And then they have to, the solutions have to be transported to another area where they're doing the purification, right? So very labor intensive, lots of bottlenecks. And what we are about, we initially developed tools to just speed up the process. But I think as time has gone on in the industry, we've looked at it as a workflow issue. And so we've tried to, what they are calling process intensification, is combining these different unit operations to bring about more efficiency. And when Serum was looking at going to about 5 or 10 times the scale, then the question was, well, you guys are going to do this, but then again, you're going to have this other bottleneck of making buffers, and you're going to have to transport things out to this particular area where you're going to be running this equipment. And how the heck are you going to do that? Do you have the capacity to do that other stuff? And so then they looked at us and said, no, but yaar, hum logon ko abhi chahiye, 6 weeks mein equipment de do, like that. And can you do it? And other people were saying it would take at least a year, it's customized. And then we came up with this solution. We said, if you just, we are very committed. We are very, very committed to ensuring that we do what we can in this COVID crisis, because that's our mission, is to provide tools that enable, these vaccines and other products to be made cost effectively to help the health and human condition, right? And for us, we were faced with, this is a seminal moment for us, and are we going to do something about it or be like everyone else? And so I think we got together as a team and we said, no, this is our moment, and we have to step up to the plate and do whatever it takes. So we suggested to them that we could take these separate unit operations and put them together so that this bottleneck is eliminated. Even if we solve this bottleneck, there's going to be another one, and we can combine those two. And then they said, hey, can you do it in 6 weeks, 8 weeks? So no, it's going to take a year. And then finally we told them, okay, you know what? We got our team together. We said, okay, we'll get it done in 14 weeks. And and so it was a complete flyer because we had to invent as well as develop and make and go to a scale that wasn't being done in the industry. And and we were doing it 2 weeks before our deadline, and we were tracking. We are having daily meetings at our company, but with the client, with the guys from Serum, we had weekly meetings. We have several projects going on with them and over the last course of the year. So we have weekly 8:30 p.m. meetings with them, and give them status updates. And we ask them in the course of this that we are going to require information from you and sign-offs from you, because the process of approval and design qualification, this, that, and the other can't be bypassed regardless of what the speed is. And we said, look, on some other projects, you guys have taken, a week to 2 weeks to turn things around, and that's not going to happen. We're going to need turnaround in 48 hours. So we are going to do our part, but we guys are going to hold you accountable. So when you make a commitment, we make a commitment, and our word is our bond. You guys are going to have to reciprocate. So they agreed. And so we had weekly meetings, and the whole team was on. So if there were any issues, they had to get ironed out right away. There was no back and forth email business, a very, very tight timeline. And so 2 weeks before the project was being completed, I got a call at like 11:30 at night from my contact there, who's sort of their CTO. And he said, Vinit, desperate hai, bahut bad situation hai. There's a lot of heat at the top. And, this is our gating item. Can you ship the equipment tomorrow? And I said, Umesh, I can't. This is going through QA. It has to go through the process. If something happens, it's going to be a disaster. This is going to be put right away into service for making vaccines. But I'm going to go tomorrow morning, and I'm going to talk with the group, and we'll see what we can do. And I promise I'm going to call you back right away. So we got together and we figured out with the team. We said, okay, these guys need it sooner. What can we do? We are 2.5 weeks away, or whatever it was. And they said, well, we can push up the deadline by a week. And so, true to our word, we said, this is how we are going to do it. These are things going to happen in parallel. There's another project of theirs that we are doing for the Tdap vaccine. And we said, we are going to push that. We're going to move those resources over to this project that's going to get delayed, but we are going to get it done. And so we got it done. And then,
okay. Yeah, let me butt in here. This brings us to your team and so on and so forth. So when did this project started? How did you feel? What did you tell your employees, and how did they respond? How do they feel about this whole thing?
I think for us, it was when we talked internally in the group, I think everyone is committed to the mission and the vision of the company, which is to provide tools that really help the health and human condition and help health and well-being of people and reduce costs and make drugs more accessible, right? So we said, look, guys, this is the situation that we have. And, initially people said, oh, forget it. These guys are dreaming, whatever, And the first time they came to us and told us 6 weeks, we just flat out said, no, we can't. Go talk to other people. And, we are like a small fry in the industry. Our competitors, now the company is spun off, but used to be GE Healthcare, right? That's kind of, it's called Cytiva now, the big 800-pound gorilla in the field. There are a few other very, very big companies. And we said, look, we just can't. But, we'll tell you what we can. And when we tell you that, then we'll stick to it. So anyways, we told them whatever, there was going to be so much time. But you guys are going to have to do this. They went around, came back after, 8 or 10 days and said yes. Now, when I talked to our team about this, they said, look, we are not going to give our word unless we can deliver. So everyone has to be 100% committed. And the thing about it is that, you know, it's our opportunity to make a difference, right? So, you know, I have a saying, which is that, you know, heroes are, you know, the ordinary people who you know, and who do extraordinary things in tough times, right? That's all. And I said, I think you guys have it in you, right? To rise to the occasion. Let's figure out how this is going to get done. And Renu, who's my wife, who runs the engineering and operations area, you know, just got together with everyone, and they agreed. They agreed. So it was their commitment. And, you know, I'm really, really proud of our group. And, you know, when they say something, then, you know, they have my back. It's not like, you know, this guy is asking, so I have to do it kind of thing. It's their commitment. And so they committed to it. And once I knew that I had their commitment, there was um, no doubt in my mind that we would get it done, right? It's that kind of thing. So, and I think it was an emotional thing. So when we shipped the machines out, we had a group meeting and, a little celebration and a toast. And, there were some people like our controls, Shanaz, Iranian lady, she's in charge of our automation and controls. And she cried, you know, she went and she told her family that she was working, on the weekends and this and that. And she said one day, she went home and she said she was telling her sister, I don't know, looks like, things are going to get delayed. And her sister said, look, you have to go and help people out there. What are you doing at home? Get out there, ask your daughter to do the work, and you have to make sure this gets done. So, the point is that it's people had, when they made a commitment, they'd obviously enrolled like their families and all that in it, and they had the support of their spouse or children or family. And I think it was that kind of um, feeling, right, that ultimately had us um, commit and deliver, right? And even now, I
Vinit,
think we had from our distributors in India, we had 2 people fly out here. We told them, look, you guys have to support this. So that's fine. We got them an Airbnb. And through the whole project, they've been here. They went back yesterday. And I think tomorrow they're going to be on site, starting with the implementation of the instrumentation. So they were through and through in terms of training, because we didn't know with this COVID surge whether our people would be able to go there or not, especially who were US based. So we had the India team come out here, and then those guys have gone back and they're ready to go. Those guys they've been well trained, they're good.
wow. So that brings sort of cash to the throat, the kind of commitment which is there right from you and your wife at the top, Renu at the top, and all the team from the Iranian lady to everybody else, including your distributors in India who are there. Great. So to come back, to go on to a more wider thing, I believe your company holds a number of patents. So what are the broad things? What are the various things that your company actually does, and what are these patents for?
So, in the old days, I developed this column in my garage, called the radial flow column, and that enabled separations. It's an absorption-desorption column, but it just has a different geometry so that the pressure drop is reduced and the flow rate is higher, and that's today used in making, so it enables higher throughput. And years ago, when the biotech industry started, then the scales were not that large. And, these were sort of orphan drugs. So it didn't matter, whether the cost of separations or purification or something was high, cost of production was high or low or whatever. People didn't care about it. They could charge whatever they wanted for these expensive treatments. So process improvements and process productivity was not a big deal. Nonetheless, the technology has gotten adopted, and today there are 24 commercially approved drugs that are being made with, I don't know, 10 to $20 billion worth of value being made using our equipment worldwide, right? But today, I think as time has gone on and as these products have matured and there's more competition, cost of manufacturing, time to market, all these things have become very important. So, we've followed very closely with the customers and worked through their bottlenecks. And Renu had a background in instrumentation, analytical instrumentation, having worked for Varian years ago. So when she joined, she started the instrumentation program with us. And now that's become the bulwark of our offering to the industry, the whole automation piece that goes around automating these purification processes, connecting them to people's factory DCS systems, and so forth. And we've continued to innovate. So, so far our offerings have been around the downstream processing of biotech industry, but we've kind of leapfrogged. And lately we've looked at, we have some patents, couple of patents where we are actually gone upstream where we are growing these cells. So we have patents on growing stem cells in high density bioreactors so that you can take stem cells and differentiate them. And we've shown in the laboratory, in academic collaborators laboratories, that we can take beta islet cells and expand them so that in a bioreactor, they are producing insulin, right? So the thinking being, then you can take somebody's stem cells, grow them outside, take their own stem cells, grow them and differentiate them to insulin producing cells and re-inject them into a patient's body so they can start to produce insulin, right? That's kind of the long-term vision of this kind of research, but potentially very possible. There's another technology called CAR T cells, which is a new cell therapy way of treating cancer. And again, there's no real way of expanding those to large scales. And last month we got a grant in which Merck and Genentech are both our partner. Both of them are our partners to develop this technology for CAR T cells. And we are just in the US, the big COVID-19, and we looked at the COVID-19 situation, and we've developed a technology for continuous downstream processing. And so with Drew Weissman at Penn, University of Pennsylvania, and a couple of other collaborators, we've just submitted for a grant for a continuous mRNA vaccine. So in the US, Moderna and Pfizer mRNA vaccines, but the vaccines are, $25, $35 a dose, which is not sustainable. I mean, which for US or Western countries is okay, but, for the rest of the world, they're very, very effective at, 90-odd% effectiveness. But the cost and then the cold chain issues of keeping the vaccine at -30 to -70, whatever, is ridiculous, right? So we've just, we have worked with certain collaborators to develop a continuous process where the mRNA vaccines can be kept at room temperature, right? And so, so we'll see where it goes. It's kind of a high risk, high reward kind of project. And so we want to stay on the cutting edge of technology. And I think as time goes on, there are opportunities that open up, and we are looking to see if we have capabilities that we can bring to help, to help with our capability to, again, with the same focus of reducing the cost, increasing accessibility of these biomolecules.
Okay, Vinit. So we got it.
Sorry, I'm getting very technical.
No. No. It's great. We are loving hearing you, even if you're going a little beyond time. It's fine. We are all loving this. So we've been hearing about Vinit, the professional, and the engineer, and the managing director, or whatever. Now, on a little bit more personal note, one last question: how has been your own journey in the US, and where are you now in life? What's your family? Whatever.
Yeah. So I have a family, Renu and I work, we are partners in life, but we also partners in business. And she runs I sort of handle the business side of the business now. And, I dabble in the engineering side as always, but, but they kick me out, if I'm talking rubbish or something.
So what you're saying is she does all the work and you take all the credit, right?
Kind of,
Something like that.
kind of, but there are younger people, people much smarter than I am. And, I throw in my 2 cents and they are patient and listen to me. But she's very much she's got the operation under control and both the development and the manufacturing side. And she's done an outstanding job. But we have a small family. We have 3 kids. And our oldest is now a doctor. She got married a couple of years ago. She lives down. She's with Kaiser Permanente in as a general practitioner in Pasadena. And our second daughter is Shireen. She's Priya's the first one. She's at the University of Rochester, and she's in her final year of med school. She's taken the scenic route. She came and worked at a missionary hospital in Jharkhand, of all places. She went to Bryn Mawr College, went to Jharkhand. She said, I really want to work with, people, I don't care about going to the great places in India. I want to go to the villages. And she worked with the tribal people there. And, so she's very passionate about making a difference. So she's engaged right now. Priya married a guy who's of Chinese origin. He's an American, but he's of Chinese. Nelson, our son-in-law, and he's of Chinese origin. And Shireen is engaged to Jefferson, and he's from Peru. He's a scientist. Was at one of the national labs. And then Naveen is our youngest, and he's in e-commerce. He lives up in Seattle with his dog, and I think he's got his girlfriend. So, everyone's doing their own thing. Renu and I are empty nesters now. It's just, other than going for hikes and walks, we just I do a little bit of, I have some meditation and spiritual practice, which is very personal. And then, we work on Sepragen, work in the house, we like hiking, camping, that sort of thing, but that's it.
So Vinit, I wouldn't call that empty nesting. I would call that you're on a perpetual honeymoon now. So guys, on that note, I think we will close this interview, and I'm going to.
Hey, Vinay,
Yeah, Gunjan.
Yeah, so Vinit, I had a question about supply chain, with what's been happening in recent months with the disruptions of all kinds of products coming from, anywhere in the world. When you made that 14-week commitment, I understand there was some engineering to do which you could control in-house, but how did you deal with the supply chain issues if you had a critical component or subsystem? Did that affect your planning?
Yeah, it was a big deal. We called up critical suppliers. So we had, in the US, there's the Defense Act, right? So which has been invoked. So, people like Moderna and Pfizer, they had the ability to go to suppliers with that. With Serum, since they're not a US company, we didn't have that, but we had the senior management write a letter to us stating that this is for COVID-19 vaccine, and in the interests of humanity, we are requesting that suppliers support us. And so we sent that letter around, and I have to say, and we made personal pleas before we took the commitment, and we said, listen, we are doing this in this much time, and we really need your support. This is, it's not just business as usual, and we are making commitments, but we can't make them without your commitment. And so we we rallied the supply chain to do that. And I have to say that, with one or two exceptions, they were, they were very much up to the task, and I have to really hand it to them for coming through. It's very, very heartening that, people in tough times can rise to the occasion and be supportive, right?
Okay.
And we've had issues like, some equipment coming from Germany had to sit because of, disruption and air travel, had to sit at the airport for 5 days. Even the equipment we shipped to Serum had to sit at the airport. We finished it on time, but then they were shipping oxygen plants from here. And so because our equipment was so big, it got bumped because those oxygen plants had to go to India, so stuff like that. But regardless, I think people were very, very genuinely supportive.
Vinit, I have a quick question. Yeah.
So we had a question from Ajay Mutreja. He raised his hand, and then who's that? Who's
Sanjay Mittal?
Okay, we will first have Ajay Mutreja who raised his hand, and then we'll have Sanjay. We'll have you. Yeah.
Firstly, congratulations, Vinit. Great to hear your journey. I'm seeing you after 40 years.
Thank you, Ajay.
And I must say that I'm thoroughly impressed by whatever you have achieved. I'm, by the way, quite actively involved with both Poonawalla Group and with Krishna LA at Bharat Biotech in both the vaccine production plants. So tell me, how quickly do you think these machines will get installed and ramp up the production? One of my classmates from IIM Ahmedabad tells me that it's going to take 1 year. When I talked about your equipment, he says the ramping up of this is a 1 year process after installation. Am I right or wrong?
No, not. I mean, normally it takes a long time, but we are on a tight timeline. So they will have to take down the, we have people like Pradeep Jha here who worked in these kinds of industries on the facility side, but they have to take down the panel, right, to load the equipment onto like the second or third floor, and then they seal the panel back up. But because then the sterile barriers are broken, right, then they have to take the particle count and all that and make sure that the facility is in compliance. But we are going to start the installation and operational qualification sort of in parallel, right, and make some sort of engineering runs so that just to validate the equipment. And our target is that by sort of middle of next month, the third week of next month, the equipment will be operational, and in July they're going to start making product. And they made commitments to people, and you might have seen in the press that they've said that they are going to ramp up their production starting July. So it's kind of based on this timeline.
Okay. Next question is from Sanjay Mittal.
Hi, Vinit. It's great to see you. I think the last time I saw you was sometime in hall 2 when you were scurrying around with Chakru. So it's
Where is Chakru, by the way?
Yeah, I don't know. That I don't know.
Yeah, Chakru works for Intel. He works for Intel. Yeah.
Where does he stay, Vinit? Sorry to bump in. I'll just get off.
Yeah, he's in Cupertino.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Okay. So my request was that, what you told us is great, but still, thoda sa upar se nikal gaya yaar. So I was wondering if, you can coordinate with Vinay, and somehow you guys can put us a piece in writing as to what exactly you have done, in something which I can share with my folks. And I would love to do that. I would love to share with my family, with my friends, that, Vinit, who was my batchmate in IDK, has done this to something which is so live today, and is going to remain live for the next few months, or maybe a year or year and a half. So is that possible?
Hey, Vinit, video dikha do bhai.
I don't.
One second, guys. Can I be in control of this?
Yeah.
So Sanjay, I will request Vinit for that, and he is planning to show us a small video, as Gunjan said. And
okay.
but before that, we have one more question, which is from Pradeep Jha. Pradeep, can you ask your question? And that'll be the last question, after which we will move on. Your hand.
Okay. Hi, Pradeep.
Hi, Vinit. Long time no see. The question I am going to ask you is kind of quasi-political. You know, when we had an association, I was very, very critical of the government working and all that. What do you think is the situation now? Now that you have entered India, really, we were struggling to get into India with Lab India and my vendors and all that shit chat, but it didn't work out with the DBT and all that. Everybody wanted money. So what do you think? Things have changed, or they are changed for
the biotech,
better or worse? Or what?
No, things have dramatically changed. Our company, I mean, we don't advertise or market or anything, and our company is, probably doubling in size. We doubled in size last year, probably double again this year. So we're growing very rapidly. And manufacturing of biologics is front and center, and I think it's the same in India. And so, we are working with folks like Biocon and Intas and, many other companies. And in the US, of course, again, Moderna, Pfizer, BioNTech, many of these companies are interested in what we are doing. So things have changed around, and there's like a market pull for what we are doing. Politically, I don't know. I think it's all industry driven. We don't really, we're not involved with, any political dealings. It's just direct dealing with.
No. Your gut feeling.
Wait. I think we'll stop it here. You take it one-on-one with Vinit. I think broad question is that he feels it's industry.
I don't know, something went
and therefore because it's a very important field, probably the government follows in some sense. So let's stop it here. Thank you, Vinit.